Mount Pleasant, Iowa. It is in the southeastern part of the state. The town was founded in 1835 by a pioneer named Presley Saunders. The town is in Henry County in the state of Iowa. Also, Mount Pleasant has businesses and stores and restaurants, and there are even neighborhoods with houses as well, and etc. in the town. Also, of course, a railroad goes through Mount Pleasant, which is the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and freight traffic passes through Mount Pleasant every single day. Originally, the line was known as the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad till the merger, the Burlington Northern, then later known as the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, BNSF for short. Also, Mount Pleasant even has a passenger station that was built in 1912, and like I said, the line was originally served by the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy till the railroads mergers, and service for Amtrak, which the California Zephyr makes a stop in town daily. Train 6 stops in town around 9 in the morning, and that one goes eastbound toward Chicago, and train 5 at 6 in the evening, and that one goes westbound toward Emeryville, California. Also, Mount Pleasant, Iowa is also home to Midwestern Threshers, where the Thresher Park is just south of downtown Mount Pleasant, just next to Locust Street, which is on the west side of the park, and Walnut Street on the east side of the park. It is known as McMillan Park. Every Labor Day weekend year-round since 1950, the Old Threshers has been going on, and that was when the first reunion happened. But before there was a railroad thought of, there was nothing but steam tractors and horses seen and such. Also, this is the 70th Old Threshers reunion that has happened, and 2020 was not a good year for Old Threshers because of the pandemic. But anyways, 10 years later, the railroad soon began at Old Threshers. It is a 36-inch gauge railroad, and it is called the Midwest Central Railroad. Steam trains operate the park mostly. The Midwest Central Railroad has been steaming around McMillan Park since 1960. Then, 11 years later, a second rail traction has been added, which is a trolley railroad known as the Midwest Electric Railway, and it is a standard gauge railroad. Mostly in this video you're about to see is me talking about the Midwest Central Railroad, and that it turned 60 in 2020, and how it all began and such, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Hi, I'm Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy Segment Show, and as you're watching this video, this is a special video celebrating Midwest Central Railroad's 60th anniversary. But however, the anniversary was last year, but we couldn't give any train rides because of the pandemic. But now we are giving train rides once again as of 2021.
started in 1960 buying 2 steam locomotives from the Argent Lumber Company, which you see behind me, along with the Model T made by Ford. And also, the 6 was built in 1891. It's the oldest steam engine in the state of Iowa. And also, the engine used to work for the Series Sussex in Southampton before it went to Argent in South Carolina. Then we acquired it along with engine number 2, and it was looking different than it has before. And here's how it looks today. This is the new boiler for engine 2, and this boiler was completed in 2016, and also the original boiler is still around and it's just in the yard. And also the boiler that you're looking at is brand new, and it will be mounted on the chassis when the time comes. And number 2 was built in 1906 for the New Berlin in Winfield before being bought by the Argent. When it was retired, it was put for sale at an auction along with engine 6. And in 1987 it was dismantled, and then here's how it ended up. And also, restoration may be on the way soon. And also, it will be announced when it happens that it's back to how it used to look. Okay, you could see right here 3 of 6 of our coaches customly built here in Mount Pleasant. We even have a caboose modeled after Florence and Cripple Creek caboose. And these cars were built in the shop using the frame and trucks that were used with Southern Pacific Narrow Gauge, East Broadtop, and Westside Lumber Company. And passengers even ride inside these cars. This is called the Mignon car, and we have one car named after the town, Mount Pleasant, which is on the other train currently. And one car appeared in Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, which is the customly made baggage car, letter Denver and Rio Grande. Right here is the original display site for the Mark Twain Zephyr, which came from the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. It was displayed here between 1962 and 1979 when kids would throw rocks at the windows and it was badly vandalized. The Zephyr was then removed from the park and was bought by a few more owners. Today, it now lives in Wisconsin at the Wisconsin Great Northern Railroad. At this point, it is currently being renovated and restored to operation. The Mark Twain Zephyr was displayed here and will always be remembered.
The Mark Twain Zephyr was originally built with 4 cars, and the 5th car was added ever since it was donated to the Midwest Old Thrashers grounds in Mount Pleasant. And the extra car came from the Pioneer Zephyr, which is on display at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. And the Museum of Science and Industry didn't have room for the 4th car to the Pioneer Zephyr, so it was given to the Mark Twain Zephyr. And you can see this picture shows when it was sitting in Kansas City.
In 1964, we bought this locomotive, which is used as our Shunter locomotive, mainly used for small switching jobs in the yard. Also, this engine worked the Frederick Snare Corporation of West Virginia, and we had its sister here with it till maybe a decade later or so, because the engine number 5 went to the Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine Railroad, where it's stored on a siding currently. This one was built in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania by Vulcan Iron Works. And also, this is its original color. In 2016, we had it put back in its original form. It used to be numbered 101 for Midwest Central until here it is today. In 1966, we bought this locomotive, the number 9. It's a Chase steam engine, meaning you got 3 vertical cylinders on the right-hand side of the engine, this side of the tracks, of course. And also, there's a drive shaft that connects to each wheel on the side of the locomotive, which turns the wheels and makes it move down the tracks. Number 9 worked the West Side Lumber Company till 1960s when it was put in storage. So one of our members, past members I should say, went down to Tuolumne County where West Side Lumber Company was. Yeah, it was in the Sierra Nevada mountains, of course, and thought it'd be perfect for our collection. So we bought it, and it was moved to Mount Pleasant, Iowa by freight train. So it went on to the Southern Pacific, and then it went on to the Denver and Rio Grande, and lastly the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad. The engine then arrived in the town and was loaded onto a truck. It had to travel a long distance to get here. It ran here before, and then in 2011 it was put on lease to the Georgetown Loop Railroad till 2019. It came back to the town of Mount Pleasant, where it belongs. And Georgetown Loop was needed with a bigger engine, so we helped them out by leasing it to them so they could use it for a while. Then it came back to the town and still running on Midwest Central today.
In fact, we didn't just lease the locomotive to the Georgetown Loop. We actually exchanged locomotives for a while. Georgetown Loop leased their number 12 steam engine, the Pineapple Princess, to us, which I'll talk about it pretty soon.
Okay, you could see right here is our Ford Model T, and behind it the Ford Model A. This was built in 1925 by Ford, and also that one was built in 1930 by Ford as well. This one came to us from the Argent Lumber Company with number 6 and 2, as well as that the Model A came from the West Side Lumber Company with the Shea. We occasionally run these behind trains, but at this moment they have been having problems since 2019, but they're getting worked on. They'll eventually run again soon. Midwest Central Railroad is not the only train attraction here at Midwest Old Threshers. 50 years ago, which was in 1971, a second one was brought up. So here's it. Here is the second rail traction that was introduced to Old Threshers. This is the Midwest Electric Railway. Behind me is the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Yarmouth station, once used in Yarmouth, Iowa. It has a good collection of trolleys. 2 1911 cars from Brazil, 1 trolley from Italy, and 1 that was used in the Chicago suburbs, and 1 that was used in Knoxville, Tennessee, and later in northern Iowa, and 1 used in southern Iowa, and they even got maintenance pieces. 1 used along the Mississippi River, somewhere along the Mississippi, and 1 that was actually used in Boston, Massachusetts by the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority. And yeah, they preserve good trolleys here. They have a complete trolley loop that goes all the way around the campgrounds, which is the additional campgrounds here at the park. It's the best way to get around. They have many different stops, including the Log Village, where you can see their activities that they have going on down there. And the trolley barn is where they maintain the cars and where they store their cars as well.
The main trolley depot was built for the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad and was originally located in Yarmouth, Iowa. It is used as the main trolley depot these days, and it was originally located in Yarmouth till it was later moved to this spot where you see it. Boarding the trolley from the campgrounds is free, but the only stop where you can purchase a trolley ticket is at the trolley depot. The former collection of trolleys that Midwest Electric used to have was Iowa Terminal 3, which was built in 1911 and is a snow sweeper. The car was part of the collection from 1973 till 1989. It was later sent to Iowa Trolley Park in Clear Lake, Iowa, and then to Branford Electric Railway in Connecticut, and then to Rock Hill Trolley Museum in Rock Hill Furnace, Pennsylvania. Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority 3039, built in 1944 by Pullman Standard. It is a PCC car and was at the park from 1992 till 2002. Today, it is preserved by Gomaco Trolley in Ida Grove, Iowa. Along with that, car 3226, built by Pullman Standard in 1945, and is also a PCC car, followed the same path. Car 4476 was built by St. Louis Car Company in 1949 and is a master unit suburban streetcar. Originally, it was built for the Toronto Transit Commission in Canada. It was part of the collection starting in 1982 till 2002 and bought by Gomaco. Pittsburgh PCC car 1705, built by the St. Louis Car Company in St. Louis, Missouri in 1909 for the Pittsburgh Railways. It joined the collection starting in 2013 but wasn't able to run on the tracks. In 2018, it was moved to a scrapyard not too far from the grounds. But it is just standing on the ground there. There are also even rolling stock seen by the trolley barn. 4 white boxcars, but history and numbers are all unknown. A hopper car that was once owned by Iowa Interstate Railroad till 2016. A caboose that was originally owned by Northern Pacific and then its merger, Burlington Northern. It has been there since 2020. And it's actually owned by a Midwest Central Railroad member. Previously, it was owned by a member of Mid-Continent Railway Museum in North Freedom, Wisconsin, and was used as a bunk car for the museum member that owned it.
This car you see here is car 6206. It was built 1918 by American Car and Foundry. It didn't look like this before it came to Old Threshers. It didn't look like this till 2017. It was like its sister that we have here. We bought them somewhere in the 2000s, if I remember correctly. And also, the car was originally looking more like a flat car before looking like this. Because when it was built, it would just carry flat car cargo. And car 6216 is the other one we have here.
Railroad 12, a Baldwin 262 Prairie built in 1928, was built to work in Hawaii. It once hauled pineapples and sugar canes in Maui. When it was retired, it was disassembled and being ready to be shipped to the mainland. Once it got to America, it was stored in pieces in Chama, New Mexico, the Coombers and Toltec Scenic Railroad. Then, in the mid-70s, it was moved to Mount Pleasant, Iowa to be reassembled. And it stayed on the Midwest Central Railroad until 1988 when Gary Norton bought the engine for use on his railroad at Silverwood Theme Park in Athol, Idaho. But it was found out to be too big for Silverwood Theme Park on the Silverwood Central, so in 2005 it was bought by the Colorado Historical Society for use on the Georgetown Loop Railroad. Then, 24 years later, the engine finally saw Mount Pleasant once more, and it was on lease to us at the Midwest Central Railroad while the Shea steam engine was at Georgetown Loop. It stayed in Mount Pleasant until 2019. In December of 2018, there was a going away party being thrown for Engine 12, and it was steamed up on the Midwest Central Railroad for the last time ever. And it was decorated Hawaiian with leis around it to see it decorated Hawaiian-like. And even the volunteers, some of the volunteers dressed Hawaiian. In the footage filmed in 1987, you can see its tender behind one of the steam engines that's a sister to our Henschel engine, which I'll talk about pretty soon. And this was from 1987, and that steam engine was later sold to Six Flags in San Antonio, Texas.
This is our Henschel locomotive right here. It was built to work in Germany as a switch locomotive. Currently it's not operable right now. It's awaiting to be completed to run again. Like I said, it was built in Germany to switch cars around before coming to the States. It was built by Henschel and Sons in Kassel, Germany. And in 1951, it's by far the only non-American built item in the collection. It's an 040, and before it came to Mount Pleasant, it was actually going to be used for an amusement park. But when the amusement park plans didn't go through, it sat in a salvage yard till about the late 80s. And then we bought it and brought it here to Iowa. It ran for a while on the tracks but it can only pull a limited amount of passenger cars up the hill. Since 2011, right after the Shea left to go to Colorado, it was taken out of service and it stopped running under its own power, and it will be a while till the inspection is complete. In the 90s, we bought this locomotive from somewhere in California. This is our number one from Mexico, but it was originally built by Baldwin in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1897. It's a 280 Consolidation. In the future, it may run on the tracks. And also, it was originally used for a Mexican railroad before coming back to America. When it was retired, it went to places in California like the Pacific Southwest Railway Museum in Campo. Then it was even at a restaurant. Then it was likely at a restaurant before it came here to Mount Pleasant. I think it went to Mount Pleasant from Campo. And there's going to be an evaluation with this engine to see if this one or the Porter will go first. Meanwhile, it's going to be like this for the time being because it may probably still be a Halloween prop for the time being. And restoration will be in the future. In the 1990s, we bought 2 diesels from the Carbon Limestone Company, which these 2 diesels you see here, one standing outside, the other sitting in the shop. These engines came off the Carbon Limestone Company. Both of them are sisters, and they were both built by Plymouth. And also, D9 was recently restored to operation. And number 14, on the other hand, did operate once it got here to Mount Pleasant. And it's been pulling trains if needed. And D9 does the same now that it's back in operation. For many years, D9 has been awaiting some restoration work to be done on it. Until 2021, this year, it was finally completed. 14 was numbered D14, but that's not its original look though. It was painted like this for Midwest Central Railroad, but it did look like number D9 though. As you can tell the difference from each other as well. Likely in the 90s, we bought 6 flat cars from the White Pass and Yukon Railroad along with a Caboose. And also, these flat cars were originally box cars used by the United States Army until they would be made into the way they are, flat cars. We got 3 of these currently. We gave half of them to Georgetown Loop. One of them was traded for the gondola car 705, and one of them is being used in passenger service on the Georgetown Loop Railroad in Colorado. This Caboose you see was built for the White Pass and Yukon Railroad in 1969. We acquired it in 1990 along with 6 flat cars. This Caboose is our only steel Caboose by far.
A hopper car that was likely built in 1976 and was purchased from the East Broadtop Railroad probably in the 1990s. It has been sitting next to the train shed on the siding next to the fence for many years.
Right here is Caboose 55 from Bellevue and Cascade, which Bellevue and Cascade was a branch line to the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad, established in 1837 through about 1880, if I remember correctly. And this caboose was the only caboose built new for the Bellevue and Cascade. This is our only Iowa native piece, and it's our oldest piece of equipment by far for both. And also the caboose has been here since 2004. Before it came to Midwest Central Railroad, it was a guest house for the previous owner. And then it was carefully brought here to Mount Pleasant, and today it is used for rides. As you can see, these two boxcars behind me, we acquired them in 2013. They were originally built for the Denver and Rio Grande. They were built in 1904 by American Car and Foundry, and they were retired. One of them went to Colorado Springs and one of them went to Fort Collins. And in 2013, we acquired them from their previous owners and used them as like a storage room. Sometimes we run them with trains like we did in 2015. One of them was ran with the trains, and I'm not sure that might happen again in the future, but we'll see what goes on though. The two cars behind me, which is this stock car and the gondola car, were built in 1904 by American Car and Foundry. They became rideable once they were at the Georgetown Loop Railroad. This car, however, went to the Colorado Railroad Museum, and we acquired both of them in 2015. But we traded one of our Y-Pass and Yukon flat cars for the gondola car to the Georgetown Loop Railroad in 2015. And they are rideable. After the 2018 reunion and before the year ended, we acquired a new steam engine, and this is our newest locomotive in the collection. It was originally built in 1914 by Porter. It worked the Argent Lumber Company with 6 and 2, and when it was retired, it was used at an amusement park in Florida till the 1980s, when the amusement park shut down. And then the engine was owned by a man named Fred Hallmark in Warrior, Alabama. Then about 23 years later, we acquired the engine. And then in April of 2019, it was unloaded from the truck and arrived here in Mount Pleasant. In the future, it may run again on the tracks, but there's going to be a lot of work done on it. The current boiler you see is a lap seam boiler, which is not appropriate enough for operation here at the Midwest Central Railroad because the boiler is a lap seam boiler. So there's going to be an evaluation soon about which engine's going to be first between this one and the Baldwin Mexican engine. Okay, the building you see behind me, this is the Hillsborough Station. It was built for the Fort Madison and Northwestern Railroad in the 1880s, in early 1880s when it was built. And it came from the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad to here. And also, in 1901, when the Fort Madison and Northwestern was bought by Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, it was then used by that railroad till 1957 when it came here and in this spot. Then we also had one steam engine at the time beside it, and also when it was retired, when Midwest Central began, used as an active train station when Midwest Central began. The water tower came from the Bellevue and Southern Railroad in Missouri, and it is used to fill water into the locomotive's water tanks. And this tower right here came from somewhere in Iowa, and it's from the Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Paul Railroad. The steam engine that used to be right here was a Davenport engine, and it couldn't stay here any longer, so it was passed on to several owners. And now it's in West Liberty, the Rock Island Depot Museum.
Some Midwest Central members have good memories playing on it as kids. And yeah, lots of kids climbed around it, as it was just a display piece sitting on a short section of rails. It was originally owned by the P.T. Clifford & Son Company of Valparaiso, Indiana, before being bought by the Midwest Old Threshers Association. It is the first rail piece to be at Midwest Old Threshers, till it was later moved to West Liberty, which is up north. There used to be 2 gift shops on the Midwest Central Railroad, but now there's only one. The one in the South Station used to be along the wall, and later it was put on the north side of the tracks in the building. The one at the North Station used to be inside a former Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific outbraced caboose, and it sat on the west side of the Hillsborough Depot till the 1980s. The next footage appears to be what may be the last footage of the caboose before it was fully dismantled and scrapped in 1987. The gift shop at the North Station was in the baggage room until after the 2016 Old Threshers reunion. Today, there is only one gift shop for the Midwest Central Railroad, and like I said, it is in the South Station. Every couple hours, there is a train robbery happening at the North Village. The robbers board the train for one trip around, and then the deputies are there waiting behind the gunslingers for the robbery train to show up. The deputies are behind the gunslingers, watching for the train to come in with the robbers on board. There will be gunshots as well, as you can see. Also, the guns are pretty loud, so if you can't handle the noise while seeing the show in person, just cover your ears. And I hope you enjoyed this video I shot of it.
In the 1990s, the Midwest Central Railroad shops had Shop Services Inc. Engines parts were being rebuilt for railroads all around the country. The Omaha Zoo Railroad's Austrian steam locomotive, which was built in Austria in 1890, it came to America in the 1970s, shortly after the Omaha Zoo Railroad all began. It was restored by the Union Pacific once it got to Omaha, and then in the 1990s came to Mount Pleasant, and then returned to Omaha. Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy 710, which was built in 1901 by the railroad's Havelock shops in Havelock, Nebraska, and ran on the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad for years. It was donated to the city of Lincoln, Nebraska, and sat in a city park in Lincoln. In 1991, it was restored in Mount Pleasant, Iowa, and then was put on display at the Burlington station, which was used by Amtrak till 2012. The Judy K. locomotive, built in 1922 by Vulcan Iron Works. The engine was built for a stone company in Illinois. Today, it is owned by Cedar Point Amusement Park in Sandusky, Ohio. The Myron H. locomotive, which is another locomotive built in 1922 by Vulcan. It is another locomotive owned by Cedar Point. It was originally used for a coaling plant in Ohio. You can see in this footage shows it being test fired. The G.A. Boekling locomotive, another locomotive owned by Cedar Point Amusement Park, and used by the railroad there, along with the other two that I mentioned. Originally was built in 1927 by Davenport and was used for a coal plant in Nova Scotia. You can see here is how it used to look when Cedar Point bought it. This shows it being tested on Midwest Central Railroad. The Carowinds engine number 2, a Crown Metal Products engine built in 1973. It was built for the Neverland Amusement Park in California near Los Angeles. Currently, the engine is stored in a warehouse. Engine 601, which was built by Baldwin in 1917 and was once used by Tennessee Coal and has a 240 wheel arrangement. It was later bought by Six Flags San Antonio and was named Miss Kitty by the Amusement Parks Railroad. It was here along with the sister of Engine 16. Also, if there are ones I didn't mention that were restored by the Shop Services Inc., please leave a comment below and let me know. A combine car built in 1909 in Sweden was part of the collection till about the 1990s. Today, it is part of the Forney Museum of Transportation in Denver, Colorado. A 45-ton center cab built by the Whitcomb Locomotive Works in Rochelle, Illinois, and was used by Bellevue once. It was built to run on standard gauge tracks. Later it went somewhere else after being in McMillan Park in Mount Pleasant. Currently, its whereabouts are unknown. I also mentioned in this video that we used to have the Frederick Snare Corp 5, which is a sister of the Frederick Snare 2. We even had a sister of our Henschel number 16, which was Engine 4.
As I mentioned, the sister of it went to Six Flags San Antonio and was named Greta by the Amusement Parks Railroad. It was renumbered 502 by Six Flags San Antonio. If there are ones that I didn't mention that used to be part of the collection of Midwest Central Railroad as well as Midwest Electric Railway, please leave a comment down below and let me know. For the past 60 years, Midwest Central Railroad has been giving rides to the public around McMillan Park, and hopefully this generation will continue for years to come. I am even proud to help volunteer with the Midwest Central Railroad, and also I hope to someday be a student fireman on board and eventually make my way to engineer. And if you'd like to help out volunteer, just go to our website, mcrr.org, and you could figure out how you would do all this. And I'm grateful Midwest Central Railroad has been in Mount Pleasant for many years. And here's to many more years of Midwest Central Railroad to come in the future.
I hope you all enjoyed watching this video of the Midwest Central Railroad 60th anniversary, except it was a year late celebration. I thank you all for watching and hope to see you watching my future videos. If you didn't subscribe to the channel yet, it's just down below. And please be sure to give it a like on Facebook, follow on Instagram, and I'll sure appreciate that. So this is Matthew Lapp, host of Matthew Lapp Train Guy Segment Show. Until next time, all aboard! We started in 1960, but we had, along with a Model A and Model T, along with a Model A that was built for, and lastly, Denver in, I think it's 1980. Yeah. No, wait. I'm thinking it's in the 90s. It was built by Henschel and Sons in Kassel, Germany, before. And also, it's the only foreign, it's an 040, and like I said, and it's waiting to be, then about 23 years later, and half of them was part of the and one of them was part of the nope. Okay, cut. What was I gonna say? No, wait. All right. Okay. Half of them. No, wait. Crud. One of them was traded for the gondola car. No. Okay, you could see here's 3 of our 6 yellow using the trucks that came off Southern Pacific coaches. Using the trucks that came off